tip of the wing. You can see it now open, bends it. So that's why it's called like that.
Their long wings are perfect for rapid flight between the oak trees in search of insects. And, thanks to the minimal use of pesticides, there's no shortage of them in the Montado, both for bats and for insect-eating birds, like the lesser-spotted woodpecker. By early March, birds like hoopoe, warblers and nightingale have already begun their spring courtship, based on the promise of plentiful food supplies to feed their young. Woodchat shrikes and endangered rollers have returned from Africa to breed. Petticoat narcissi are the first floral beacons of spring, triggering a rampage of wildflowers, an increasingly rare sight in the rest of agricultural Europe. Mediterranean catchfly forms pink saucers around the cork oak trunks. The evergreen umbrella-like canopy provides welcome shade for these light-sensitive flowers. Unlike so much of Europe, there's hardly any chemical runoff from the surrounding land, so spring rains replenish the streams and ponds with beautifully clean water, which is good news for the pollution-sensitive animals like amphibians. These are male marsh frogs, trying to attract females and establish a territory. In the slower-moving rivers and pools throughout Alentejo, striped-necked terrapins are abundant. Like all reptiles, terrapins are cold-blooded and need to absorb heat by basking on suitable rocks. Throughout early spring, barn swallows use the mud they collect from the margins of the pond to construct and repair their nests. Marsh frogs are not the only noisy amphibian here. Stripeless tree frogs are also common. They reserve their mating chorus until nightfall. During the night, a male Iberian midwife toad has kept a chain of eggs moist in the pool. Wrapped around his hind legs, they shackle the toad for 6 weeks until hatching. Before dawn, he'll find a damp, cool shelter to prevent the eggs from drying out. Fire salamanders hunt for invertebrate prey throughout the night. With its striking yellow and red markings, this is a rare subspecies found only here. It will also hide up during the day, as too will the spadefoot toad. Using its shovel-like rear feet and corkscrew body movement, the toad buries itself in the soft soil of the cork forests before the end of the night. In Britain, you seldom hear nightingales singing after dawn. But in this very undisturbed area, these normally secretive birds will often continue throughout the day. The relative peace and quiet also encourages many of Europe's rarest birds to breed here, such as the black-shouldered kite. This male is quartering one of the Montado's more open grassy areas for small rodent prey. It's now mid-March, and a female, ready for breeding, watches the performance with a critical eye. These beautiful birds can hover over their prey in a similar way to a kestrel. It's an ability that differentiates them from their more common relatives, the red and the black kite. The female sees that her prospective partner is at last returning with a courtship gift. She will join him on his post for a handover ceremony. And then fly off with her engagement present to the chosen nest site in an old olive tree. She's unlikely to be disturbed here. The farmer who would have harvested the olives is long gone. So too the cork oak woodland that once surrounded the abandoned farmstead, probably cleared during the 1980s, when EU subsidies encouraged a switch to more intensive crops like maize. At the same time, wine drinking was becoming more and more popular, with a corresponding increase in demand for cork bark. The producers of cork stoppers could hardly keep pace, and in some factories standards of quality and cleanliness fell. As a result, complaints of tainted or corked wine rose and opened the way for new plastic or metal alternatives, marketed as cleaner and more modern than cork stoppers like these. By early 2000, the cork industry had lost almost a quarter of its market to this new competition, and some landowners, fearing the worst, continued to replace their cork oaks with cereal crops. But on these dry, impoverished soils, many such projects were doomed to failure. Once felled, cork woodland is very difficult to restore. A complex ecosystem such as the Montado takes time, knowledge and patience to recreate, as Francisco knows well.
There's a Portuguese proverb that says, vinhas das minhas, olivais dos meus pais e montados dos meus antepassados. In English this means that there's vineyards of mine, olive groves of my parents and montados of my ancestors. That shows the time it takes to have a montado established.
Carefully controlled plantations like this are how modern farmers try to recreate their cork woodlands. But there was a simpler way in the past.
One of the good memories I have from my childhood is that walking in the montado, which with my grandfather, he would just look for an acorn. He would pick it up and with the heel of his boot just do like this, put it back like this, and after pick up a piece of with thorns like this and just put it on top of the acorn just to protect it. It would choose a place where there were no cork trees, and hopefully next year we will have a nice sprouting young cork tree in that place. Look, here's a beautiful acorn that has germinated. You see, hopefully this acorn in 20, 30 years' time will be giving some cork. I won't be here to harvest it, but I hope my sons or my grandsons will be here for it. Let's hope it's here.
Francisco's long-term view of the Montado includes a passion for its wildlife, so he leaves about 10% of his woodland ungrazed. Natural regeneration encourages a mixed understory of flowers and shrubs, including the evergreen arbutus or strawberry tree.
A special thing about the Arbustus unido, it's that its leaves is the food for a very specific caterpillar of the pasha butterfly. They only feed on these leaves, so by keeping these, we help nature.
By understanding wildlife and sympathetically managing his montado, Francisco helps secure the increasingly rare pasha butterfly.
Walking through here, that I do it in weekends, one of the things I found is a nest of a nightjar. They are quite frequent here, and they are very difficult to find because they mix with nature so well.
Redneck nightjars are masters of camouflage. Only a glinting eye reveals her sitting on her nest in the leaf litter. She'll sit out the daylight hours on her clutch of eggs with hardly a movement, trying to avoid the attention of the many species of snakes found here. Being good climbers, ladder snakes can also be a threat to tree-nesting birds. And growing up to a metre in length, they're one of the largest species in Europe. Grass snakes are common in the Montado, and when basking in the open, need to stay alert to danger themselves, particularly when it's most likely to come from above. This is a female short-toed or serpent eagle, and she's expecting some food from her mate. It's characteristic for him to arrive with a half-swallowed ladder snake, which he is then obliged to pull from his throat. The male provides all the food for both his mate and the chick during its first 2 weeks of life. It's April, and the cork oaks are flowering once again. There can't be many places where the continued survival of one species of tree helps to feed so many mouths. This attentive mother is a woodchat shrike, who with that hooked bill can dispatch anything from beetles and grasshoppers to small lizards and the young of other birds to feed her own brood. That variety of prey is largely thanks to the patchwork of habitats in the Montado, and it's the mixture of woodland and pasture which also enables the iconic azure-winged magpie to raise its offspring in such healthy numbers. Gaggles of these handsome birds are often seen diligently searching for insects. It would be easy to assume that this pair are the nestling's parents. However, they're just as likely to be siblings from one of last year's broods, who instead of breeding themselves, have forfeited their first year to help attend to their new relatives. Minimal use of insecticides and herbicides, together with a habitat-friendly traditional management, means that countless insects are always available on the menu. Another vital part of this management system is water conservation. Farmers will often channel their precious spring water into traditional stone troughs, and surrounding damp vegetation of such places is favoured by Europe's largest amphibian, the sharp-ribbed salamander. The temporary supply of water in the troughs coincides perfectly with a salamander's spawning season. They'll often clamber in to lay their eggs amongst the algae on the bottom. Local farmers have an ancient superstition that a salamander in a water trough will soon drink it dry. Of course, this is only a myth. Or is it? It's easy to dismiss an old legend. Much harder, though, to replace an ancient system that gives haven to even the rarest of Alentejo's breeding birds, such as the black